Hi, I'm Randy Ferguson, your spiritual life coach. I want to share with you a vital life skill that becomes especially useful as we grow older. How to heal our fear of death and aging. The human mind is hardwired for our own survival, so this fear is totally natural. But isn't learning to deal with it better than living in fear while the precious time we do have keeps ticking by? So let's begin with the truth. We're all aging and we're all going to die, period. That's non-negotiable for all 8+ billion of us. Well, when we're in our 20s and 30s, senior living seems a gazillion years away and pretty irrelevant. But the closer we get to the end of life, something wonderful can begin to happen. Our hearts can begin to open more. Our priorities can begin to shift. And we can place more focus on the things that really matter. The closer we get to the edge of the diving board, the more we begin wondering, could there really be some kind of higher power out there? Am I more than just a physical being? Is there also a spiritual dimension to who I am? If my physical body ages and dies, is there an aspect of me that goes on to some higher dimension, or is it just lights out? According to the Pew Research Center in Washington, D.C., and I quote, 83% of Americans believe that people have a soul or a spirit, and 81% say there's something spiritual beyond the natural world, even if we cannot see it. So, okay, let's talk about this higher power possibility, because it has a lot to do with our fear of aging and dying. If there's even a part of you that believes in a judgmental God, an angry old bearded guy in the sky who can't wait to send you to some horrible place for all your earthly blunders, if you believe in that, what happens to your fear of aging and dying? Right, it skyrockets. I think it was Peter Tosh who said, everyone wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die to get there. I get it. Now, consider a different possibility, that there really is a God, but not in the way many people have been taught. If you open your heart as you grow older, you may begin to see a much greater possibility, that there really is a divine beingness we call God. But the nature of this God is all powerful, all knowing, all loving, and all available to each of us individually. But then the question comes up, how could a loving God permit the horrific events we see on the news on a daily basis? Try this on. Consider the possibility that mankind has been committed to comfort, whether or not it's fulfilling. But God has been committed to our fulfillment, whether or not it's comfortable. What this means is that we can count on God to bring us one lesson after another, each lesson teaching us how to become an even better version of ourselves. And don't we continue receiving these lessons whether we want them or not? Consider also the possibility that this is just as true for us as nations as it is for us as individuals. When I ask audiences, how many of you have been through really difficult times? Almost every hand is raised. Then when I ask them for how many of you have those difficult times also been when you've grown the most as a person? And you guessed it, same hands go up. So what if we certainly haven't always been given what we've wanted, but with great love and compassion, we've always been given what we've needed to grow in our wisdom as a human being? Okay, I know I'm sharing a lot right now, but hang in there with me, because here's where you can transform your upset about fear of dying, fear of aging, into a state of peace. As a culture, we're taught so much of what doesn't work. Then, with the best of intentions, we follow this dysfunctional guidance and reap the consequences. It's like living in Boston with a map of LA. Very disorienting. Here's what I mean. Imagine that humankind has a definition of what it is to be successful, and that this is very different from God's definition of what it means to be successful. Mankind's definition of success means what? Money in your checking account, a luxury car, an impressive home in the right part of town. You and your spouse are young and attractive. Your kids are doing well. Everyone's healthy and happy. And you're known and respected. All of this is great, but here's where we get in trouble. Because of what we've been taught, these symbols of success can become our very identity. And on some level, we believe that they determine our value as a human being. Of course, as we age and we move toward end of life, we begin losing the very things to which we've become attached, which can be very confronting. As we age, people aren't quite as impressed with our stunning good looks. Our physical body can't do what it used to. Our mental skills begin to fade. We may have to deal with physical pain. Eventually, we lose control over our mobility, and we're no longer in charge of our daily activities. You still may have possessions, but you know very well that upon your death, you aren't taking anything with you. I mean, when was the last time you saw a hearse towing a U-Haul, right? Finally, on your deathbed, you breathe your last and lose your physical body. Sounds kind of depressing, doesn't it? In humankind's definition of success, we hold this whole process as a horrible, unfair worsening of events. And the more we fight and resist the inevitable, the more we suffer. And in our suffering, we miss out on what could truly be the finest chapter of our life. Okay, now consider the possibility that God has a very different definition of success, especially when it comes to aging and end of life as we know it. Consider the possibility that God is much more concerned about quality than quantity, that God has more attention on generosity than accumulation, on the closeness in our home more than the size of our house, on true character more than our image on social media, more on our capacity to love than our ability to judge, on the spirit that you are more than the body which contains it. I think you get the idea. In 2024, I had the privilege of walking the Camino de Santiago, a 500-mile hike from southern France over the Pyrenees and west across Spain to Santiago. My primary intention for this journey was to shift from just believing in God to experiencing loving relationship with God. And boy, did I get my wish. Walking along the trail, I had an amazing experience. It wasn't so much that I was trekking forward as it was that the trail was being brought to me with phenomenal love. It was as if every rock, tree, stream, and cloud was yelling at me, "Randy, this is God. I love you more than you can possibly comprehend. I'm crazy about you, always have been and always will be." In this incredible place of the heart, I saw that God has always loved me and always had my back. That God has always honored my free will and always wanted the best for me. And it was in this state that I saw a greater possibility for aging and physical death. What if it's true that you too are totally loved beyond your comprehension 24/7? That aging is a divine process of letting go of who you are not. Letting go of your youth, your possessions, your energy, your control, your health, your family, and ultimately your physical body. And remember, you're letting go of your attachments, not your love. These are two very different things. Keep the love, but release your attachments. Let go of your death grip on life. Consider the possibility that this whole process is preparing you for graduation into a new and exquisite dimension. Literally, our entire life here on earth is preparing us for what's next, to become residents of what the Bible calls the kingdom of heaven. If you were to release mankind's definition of success and embrace God's definition of success as your truth, how would that impact the quality of the time you have left on the planet? What would it be like to embrace the inevitable rather than fighting and resisting it? What would happen to your upset about aging and your fear of death? Can I prove that this kingdom of heaven really exists? No, I can't. But I can invite you to open your heart wider than you ever have before so you can see for yourself. I can invite you to communicate, to pray, to create a loving, ongoing relationship with our amazing Creator. So, are you willing to embrace your aging as an ongoing invitation to something indescribably wonderful? And when your divine time comes, are you willing to let go and fall into God's loving arms? There's a beautiful saying: there will never be enough evidence for the mind to prove the existence of God, and to the heart, none is needed. This story from Tyler Lee Vivier. A kind veterinarian had been called to examine a 10-year-old Irish wolfhound named Belker. The dog's owners, Ron, his wife Lisa, and their little boy Shane, were all very attached to Belker, and they were hoping for a miracle. I examined Belker and found that he was dying of cancer. I told the family we couldn't do anything for Belker and offered to perform the euthanasia procedure for the old dog in their home. As they made arrangements, Ron and Lisa told the vet that they thought it would be a good idea for 6-year-old Shane to observe the procedure. They felt as though Shane might learn something from the experience. The next day, the vet felt the familiar catch in his throat as Belker's family surrounded him. Shane seemed so calm, petting the old dog for the last time, that the vet wondered if he understood what was going on. Within a few minutes, Belker slipped peacefully away. The little boy seemed to accept Belker's transition without any difficulty or confusion. They all sat there for a while after Belker's death, wondering aloud about the sad fact that dogs' lives are shorter than human lives. Shane, who'd been listening quietly, piped up, "I know why." Startled, they all turned to him. What came out of his mouth next was stunning. He said, "People are born so they can learn how to live a good life, like loving everybody all the time and being nice, right?" The 6-year-old continued, "Well, dogs already know how to do that, so they don't have to stay as long as we do." Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope this video was useful for you. If you want to know more about the weekend retreats coming up in Denver or are interested in private coaching, go to our website below or email me directly. And of course, please like and subscribe for more extraordinary life skills. If you know someone who might benefit from this video, also please feel free to share. Take care.